All right, welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts episode 304. Today is the 9th of September, and we have got everyone here. We got a lot of good questions today to go over, and a couple updates and announcements. So I'm going to say hi to everybody real quick. I'm going to start with myself, and if you think that I appear extra shiny today, because it's basically like I'm in the dark. It's bizarre. If you haven't seen any of the footage from San Francisco area or the Bay Area, you can check it out online for the news. It's like orange outside and dark. Anyways, super weird stuff. So everything other than that, though, is normal. So we're just going to keep cruising along. And let's see, I'll just go around the ring here. Hernan, you're first on my list. How you doing, man?
Oh, man, you're putting me on the spot. I'm great. I'm awesome. And I'm excited for Popul Live. I'm really excited about today, the questions that we have, but really excited about Popul Live and excited about today and excited about Popul Live. And
so I hear Pofu Live a lot. Are you excited about Pofu Live?
Popul Live, yeah, man. Yeah, it's this thing that we do every single year. This year we're doing it online, but I'm excited about that. Did I mention that?
Well, third time's a charm. So if people wanted to find out more about this thing called Pofu Live, where would they go?
They can go to popullive.com and get super excited about that. And yeah, popullive.com.
Awesome. Well, besides me and Hernan's blatantly promotional conversation there, I will be adding some more here after we go around. We got some more details and some bonuses coming up. But Hernan, we were talking yesterday and you were saying that you were thinking about creating a Facebook course of some sort, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if people were interested in what exactly, what would they be interested in if they would be interested in this?
So if they are interested in making their Facebook ads work better, and this works if you are an agency, this works if you're trying to generate leads for your clients, for your own agency, this would work pretty much for anything. If you have an affiliate program, if you're trying to get leads for real estate, whatever it is that you're trying to do, that is basically what I want to go through. So it's probably going to be a 6-week course. And it's going to, show you basically the mindset behind Facebook ads, a little bit different than SEO, it's a little bit different than Google ads, a little bit different about pretty much anything else. So what you need to have in mind, what you need to consider, how does it work, how to scale your campaigns so that you can make them really profitable. So, that's going to be it. So if there's any interest,
would this be for like local type ads or national or international or everything?
It's going to be pretty much everything. So I'm just going to touch base on everything. And a focus on local specifically, but it's going to be, I've run campaigns that are international, I've run campaigns nationwide, I've run campaigns locally. So, I generated, I don't know, in excess of 7,000 paying clients to a local chiropractic clinic in Dallas in a year. So, so that is something that I'm going to dissect that case study as well. So it's going to be pretty awesome. So.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, if you're watching and that sounds interesting to you, if you could just pop a comment on the page and say that you're interested in the Facebook and add on there like one question you have or, that you would definitely want Hernan to cover because he's just thinking about this and we want to make sure this is something that you guys, of course, want to take part in. So if you're watching the replay on YouTube, go ahead. You can do the same thing. Just leave a comment. We get notified, obviously, of those. Go ahead and leave the comment you're interested in the Facebook stuff and leave also a note on what it is you're most interested in. All right, continuing around. Chris, do we have you on video today? Do we have Chris? That's the question. All right, no Chris, then we're going to keep going. Marco, how you doing, man?
Groundhog Day.
Can somebody send Marco a groundhog? I think that would, we need to get you instead of Humpy the camel, we need to get Marco a groundhog or something.
I'm being drawn into the light, man. What can I say, man? That's how bright my future is, man. I was just looking at how our stuff doesn't work. I'll say stuff right now. I might get heated up later and say something else. Just repeat. I'm gonna do a screen grab. I'll have to blur the keywords and who this is for. But yeah, I think with Camtasia I can do it so that you guys can see that this guy is for 500 keywords, averaging position 8. So think about that. Not averaging. 500 words from position 1 to 8 in SERPs on average. Think about that. Our shit works so bad that he only has 500 keywords, making him money at position 8 or better. and 1,000 keywords averaging position fluctuates between 16 and 18. And, you know, when it gets really bad, it averages 18. 1,000 keywords, 1,000 keywords, right? Think about that. Think about that for a second. How our shit absolutely doesn't work. If you're interested in seeing the screen grab when I do the recording in Camtasia, it'll be in our free groups, it'll be in the Heavy Hitter Club, it will be everywhere where you can find Semantic Mastery. Come and see it, because I want you guys to see it. You have to see it. To see how our shit just doesn't work. No said.
Fair enough. And I'm going to grab the link to the Facebook group if anyone is not a part of that yet, at least the Semantic Mastery one for now, and I'll grab some other links too, but make sure you hop in there. Chris, it looks like we've got you now. So how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Sorry for the not being able to respond. I had to take a call here. Was a land call, so like always good to get those like calls. And well, it's nothing closed yet, but like we'll see, like getting close here.
Nice. So when you say land, are you talking about like the land deal, like the land lead gen and land flipping?
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. All right. Well, speaking of land, Bradley, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I don't know. I wasn't prepared for this.
Haha.
No, just kidding. Yeah, did you, well, I guess we can get into this later, but speaking of land, I did want to touch on that. Again, if you heard us last week, then you know what we're already talking about. If you don't, go back and check out last week's episode. If you're interested in finding out more about the land business that I know especially Bradley, Marco, and Chris have been involved in, that's been good for all three of them. I know Bradley's doing very well with that. You can go back and find out more about that in last week's episode. And we were asking if people were interested in that. There was one initial training group, and then we've been busy since then. And we're now looking ahead and saying that that might be available again. Right, Bradley?
Yeah, we had one person inquire about it last week, but essentially, you know, I buy and sell vacant land as kind of a side gig. And for a while, I was going to try to make it my, you know, I was considering making it my primary business, but or one of, I guess I should say one of several. But honestly, I spent several months just working out like automations and training some personnel, virtual assistants to handle some stuff for me, to where now I probably only put about, on average, about 10 hours per week into the business, and it consistently generates 4 or 5 figures in revenue per month for me. So anywhere between, like I said, on the low end, about 3,000 a month. On the high end, I haven't broke 20,000 in a month yet, but I've come close to that. So, you know, 18 to 20 grand on the high end.
Awesome.
Last month I did 16K on land flips. So it was a great month, and those aren't typical, but it's nice when you have a couple, you know, a few of those. And so a lot has changed since our original training for that I hosted. I called it Land Mastery. But it's only changed because, you know, I've got more experience now. So I've learned, you know, what to do, what not to do, experienced some various, you know, things that come up kind of over and over again, and ways to get around them. And not only that, but like I said, I've spent several months kind of figuring out ways to automate things and hire personnel to do things to where it wasn't so time intensive. And so I think if I was to do it again, host another one of those training, you know, coaching groups or whatever, it would be better, because it would be more streamlined in that it would be easier for people to get set up and do the things, you know, through that I've learned through experience, without having to go through that kind of trial and error on their own. So, you know, it's a great business. It's just a side hustle now. I'm not even concerned with trying to make it my primary business model anymore, because, you know, it pretty much runs on mostly autopilot with very little input. So again, if anybody's interested in learning more about it, you can find out from last week's, the beginning of Hump Day Hangout last week. You can go back and watch a couple minutes of that. Or you could just inquire and say, yeah, you're interested in learning more about it. It would be a you know, a few $1,000s investment, because it would require a lot of my time coaching you guys on a weekly basis for, I don't know, 10 or 12 weeks, something like that. But it's certainly something that you can generate a very high return on your investment for very quickly. Just a quick side note, when I first got into the business, I bought a $1,500 training course. I had some experience with flipping houses about a decade ago, 15 years ago. So I was familiar with a lot of the real estate stuff anyways, but I spent $1,500 and in my first month I made $14,925 in profit. So it was like,
Nice.
you know, a 10 times return on investment in my first month. So it, you know, it's certainly possible. And that's, we've had the first group that I did, well, the only group that I've coached so far, one of our members, he went out and started flipping land within, I think, the first 2 months. And he's done several tens of thousands of dollars since then in revenues. So it's definitely a good business. And if anybody's interested in it, you know, reach out to us either in one of the Facebook groups or via support@semanticmastery.com. And I'll let you know if we get enough interest, if I'm going to fire up that, you know, kind of initiate another group.
Cool. All right. Well, I wanted to talk again real quick about POFU Live, what me and Hernan were talking about at the beginning. If you go to pofulive.com, you can check out the agenda. We've got the rough agenda here. Anyone who is on the email list, and shortly we're going to be posting it in Facebook as well, we've got the schedule laid out. There's going to, of course, be a lot going on. You can also find out what other attendees have to say. Choose the ticket that's right for you, right? We have the main ticket. If you just want to show up, you want to be there, you want to get access to the recordings. As usual, we recommend the VIP package, that chance to network, the chance to talk to other people, kind of hit the ground running once we get there. And then the VIP Plus package. We only have a few of those left. And what that includes is a 90-minute personal hot seat with all of us. You also get a recording of your hot seat to solve your business problems, whatever that may be. With our, I'll go ahead and say, deep experience in many areas, we're able to help you. And then a follow-up call within 90 days to help you make sure you're staying on track and you're getting done what you need to get done. Now, as far as the speakers, you may know, of course, we've got the 5 of us. Bradley's going to be talking. Marco's going to be talking. I'm going to be mostly emceeing, might interject some of my fun productivity stuff in there. Chris has got a talk coming together. I know Hernan's talking. Rob is going to be there again, Rob from MGYB. Jordan Fowler, all right, agency owner as well as a mastermind member, is going to be there. We're going to come back to him in just a second. Jeffrey Smith is making a three-peat at POFU Live. He will be joining us and giving a talk as well. And Brian Caddo, also a mastermind member who was at POFU Live last year, will be delivering the goods as well on a really cool topic about clients and making them stick and getting those right clients. So really excited to hear from everyone. But again, last week, Marco made mention of a potential bonus here for people. And so, Marco, do you want to kind of go over what you were telling people last week?
Well, you can see Jordan Fowler in there and Brian Caddo. They're both in my mini mastermind, and they're going to be speakers at POFU Live this year. So we discussed it with the mini mastermind group of who we should let in. And it's generally someone who is in our Semantic Mastery Mastermind. But this year, I mean, since it's so few and far between that spots open up in my mini mastermind, the requirement is going to be that you are a standing member of Semantic Mastery, right, of our mastermind, and that you attend POFU Live. So if you meet those 2 requirements, then what we'll do is I'll meet with Brian and Jordan after POFU Live, and we will decide who is the best fit for our group. Okay, so I do run the group in that I run a tight ship, and you do have to attend the meeting, and you do have to be held accountable for whatever it is that you said you're going to do. And if you don't get it done, then we will get on you for not getting done what you said you get done. Other than that, I mean, it's a free for all in that everybody shares and everybody goes and applies and takes. Got a bunch of people who are killing it in all different kinds of fields, right? And so we want someone that's a fit, someone that can commit and be there and then be held accountable. And so it's just a bonus. And then I think Jordan also added a bonus as well today.
Yeah, he did. Jordan very graciously. Yeah, he said he's going to give, he'll give one attendee a 1-hour free consult call. So yeah, that's worth a lot. Jordan's got a ton of experience. I mean, Marco, you know more than I do. I mean, I know I can talk about Jordan, but I think if you just want to reiterate, I would think that an hour talk with Jordan could be highly beneficial.
Well, the guy is dealing with Fortune 500 companies. So why wouldn't it be beneficial for you to talk to someone who's literally killing it and who is getting to the point where people are coming to him? So he's basically setting his own price. He's no longer there where he has to take whatever comes along, or where you're kind of negotiating and you're bickering on okay, I'm going to charge. And no, if this is my price, pay it or move along. You shouldn't have come to me in the first place.
Definitely. So, yep, if anyone's interested, head over to pofulive.com. That's where you can grab your ticket. With the VIP tickets, you definitely want to grab those soon. The other tickets, go ahead, pick them up. If you have any questions, you can email us at support@semanticmastery.com. Be happy to help you out, answer any questions. But that is coming up on the 25th, 26th. So we're down to just under 2 weeks. So make sure you grab your tickets, get ready for that, and we will see you there. All right, Bradley, ready to hop into it?
Yes, I am.
Very well.
Got too many tabs open. I was trying to close some of them down because my cache is freaking out on my computer. All right, hold on. Let me grab the screen. Right on. You guys can see my screen all right?
Good to go.
Yes.
Okay. Whoops, it's too much. All right, so looks like we should start here, but I'll answer this one really quickly. Would you put a press release URL from 2 to 3 big news sites to the money site, same as schema? Okay, so would you insert press release URLs in same as schema? Well, the only time I would do that is if I knew it wasn't going to be purged, because otherwise you know, it could be referencing a dead URL. What do I mean by that? Well, with press releases, depending on the publication, a lot of them will purge. In other words, they'll delete the press release after a certain amount of time. Could be 90 days, could be 60 days, it could be 180 days. I don't know what. It just depends on the publication. So if you're going to do that, I mean, you can do it, but I would only do it if you're going to be linking to versions of the press release, where on publications where they're not going to be deleted or purged from their system. That's the only time I would do that. Anybody want to comment on that?
I've never done it, never needed to. I don't. It's not yours. The same as is supposed to be your profile. As a matter of fact, your social profile. We extend a little bit to include the ad ID profiles, right? But it's everything that's part of our entity. It's not entity mention. Now, if there's a place where an entity mention is beneficial as a same as or as whatever, then I would say by all means go ahead and do it. But the way that we're doing schema right now, we just went over again. We just closed the entity part and schema of the Heavy Hitter Club series, and we're moving into an affiliate kind of over the shoulder that Rob is going to be conducting. But we went into that, and the way that we're doing schema, I mean, I just mentioned that this client where this is just applying schema, no on page other than JSON, LD plus JSON schema, right? So there are some press releases that don't get me wrong, right? But that's off page. There is link building, that's off page. It does have an SEO shield, the SEO power shield, of course, because why wouldn't we? Well, you would say because your shit doesn't work, Marco. So since it doesn't work, it's exactly what we do. It's exactly what we say in our battle plan, in our SEO battle plan, in the SEO shield. So everything off page except for the schema that was on page. And from that, guys, the results speak for themselves. People can say whatever they want, and they often do. But I would welcome them to put their money where their mouth is against results. If the bottom line is your client's phone ringing? Is your phone ringing? Are you making money? Is your client making money? That's the bottom line. Nobody can say shit about that, okay? So on that schema, the way that we set it up works just fine. You can try it, you can test it and see whether you get better results. But like once you get to like number one, what's better than having the top spot? And you can't get better than that.
Yeah, the featured snippet maybe, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so, and to kind of reiterate what Marco said, I agree with that. Press Advantage, because we use that so much, you get an organization page, which would be your own profile on the Press Advantage domain, right? Or the project's profile essentially. And see, we use that in same as schema because that is your branded profile on the Press Advantage platform. So that to me is a better option for same as than linking to an individual press release, right? Where press release is a mention perhaps of your organization or company, but it's not necessarily like it's not, your profile on that publication. It's just a mention. So I agree with Marco. I would probably not even bother linking to press releases from SameAs schema. All right, next question is, I would like to know if there's a plugin or software that creates automatic syndication with automatic article generation or spinning, much like IFTTT when it syndicates to Web 2.0s, but the content it syndicates is spun from the original article or created with something like Article Forge. It links back with the full URL of the article, so no anchor text optimization. The only one I knew of was Social Link Machine by Andy Black a couple of years ago, something like Snap, which is the social networks auto poster plugin, but with spintax or Article Forge. No, I don't, because I stopped using any sort of spun content for link building purposes, long ago. So I honestly don't know. I know there were tools like SendWire, for example, was one of them. I don't know if that's even supported anymore. Abs Ravji, he had some tools that did stuff like that as well. Bookmark Lovers was, I think, one of them, but I don't know if any tools. It's been years since I've done anything like that because, we stopped really using that type of link building tactic to our money sites, when we developed the SEO Shield RYS Academy. So it's been 5 years really since I've used any kind of applications like that whatsoever. So I can't help you with that. Does anybody else here have any comments on that?
No, I don't. And the only comment that I would add to this is that we don't want our content spun. We want it attributed. We want proper attribution, but we don't want it spun. We want it just like it is. And it comes back with a link to the original content, giving it credit, and it works perfectly fine for the purposes for which we intended.
Agreed. So Bobby's up. He says, hey guys, this one's for Marco. Do blocked embeds, so I guess probably like a broken iframe, do blocked embeds pass any power? For example, you built embeds to a property like crunchbase, and now that website has a disabled X-frame headers. Thank you. So yeah, I guess like an iframe blocker, Marco, will anything pass through that?
The X-frame, the iframe burger, we've never actually tested that, but that would be a fabulous test because even though the iframe is not allowed to display, the code is still there, and the source equals reference, right? It's still there, and so yeah, I mean it's a simple test to do. I don't know why we've never run it. It's probably on my list of things to do, and we will get to it once in a while. But guys, don't wait on me. Test it. All you have to do is set it up, link build to it, and see if the destination moves. If it does, then you got a winner.
Yeah, there you go. That would be an interesting test, though, for like Heavy Hitter Club or something.
It's actually on my list of things to do. You should see our list of things to do.
Just add it to the list, the never-ending laundry list. Alana's up. What's up, Alana? She says, hey, hi, guys. I'm back. Just been checking out your webinar with Lisa Allan from Rankfeedr. Just wondering if you would just use the ping feature in the product or also use the feeds to populate, use the feeds you create to populate a small site to create more topical relevancy. Okay, so my answer to that is no, I wouldn't use the feeds from Rankfeedr as like a content syndication tool or to populate another site with content because it's not really designed for that. A better tool for that would be something like RSS Masher, Damon Nelson's tool. And the only reason I say that is because the Rankfeedr tool is pretty much all contextual, right? Or like text-based is what I should say. I'm sorry. It's all text-based. So like when you create the feeds, it's all basically like just a standard RSS output. As far as I know, that like, for example, if you take the RSS feed from the news-round.com or whatever it is URL that creates the RSS feed from inside of Rankfeedr, I don't want to say I've never, if I remember correctly, I tried using that to syndicate and it doesn't publish the full post. It just publishes the snippets like it looks like when you're viewing the feed in Firefox, for example, or the HTML version of the feed, because in Rankfeedr, it gives you an HTML URL too, so that you can view, view the feed itself instead of just like the XML coding. You can view it in like Chrome, for example. Firefox, by the way, you have to have an extension or an add-on in Firefox now that will allow you to view RSS feeds you know, used to always be a native function of Firefox. And apparently now you have to have an extension or an add-on added to Firefox to be able to view an XML RSS feed like in an HTML format. Okay. So rankfeedr gives you an HTML format URL and you can take a look at it. That's similar to what, if I remember correctly, it's been a few years since I've tried syndicating, but I remember trying, and it would, and it might have been updated since then, but it would display or republish the posts as they looked in the HTML feed version of the feed, if that makes sense. So the reason why it wouldn't be good for using for content syndication is because that looks awfully spammy, because it's all text-based. There's no images, you know, they're very short snippets. So you could try that, for example, to populate, like use a syndication network. And I had tried that a few years ago, but again, because it comes across with those real short, like summary posts, basically like what it looks like when you're viewing a feed, right? So just the link and in a very brief summary, and that's it. It's just a list of links. Then it would create those really short little posts on the syndication network properties, and it looks spammy, and it could very likely get your account terminated on those platforms that you're republishing to. You know, if you're doing it to a self-hosted website, then where you're not having to worry about it being terminated, then yeah, possibly. But again, if it looks spammy and are just really, really short, I don't see how that's going to add much value. Something like RSS Masher gives you a much, much better ability to use other people's feeds or any feeds that you know, super feeds that you create from any number of feeds. But you can edit the feed and the outputs to where you can insert images, full text, summary text, you know, all different kinds of things. You can insert your own images or, you know, iframes and banners and calls to action and all that kind of stuff. And so those that tool is much better for it. The way I always looked at them was RSS Masher was more like a marketing tool and a traffic generation tool, and rankfeedr was strictly an SEO tool, right? So one of the things that I've done, and I'm not going to show this because I show it in the mastermind, but I would love to show it here. But when you create a rankfeedr feed, especially for local projects, and I've talked about how to do this before in Syndication Academy and Mastermind and everything else, but you can create a RSS super feed where you're combining topically relevant feeds plus locally relevant feeds. So you can go to, like, you know, local websites, local municipality government website, you know, any type of local blogs, events calendars, things like that have RSS feeds, and you can create a locally topically relevant feed that you can then create an embed code from using FeedBurner. I can't walk you through the steps on that either, but you can create what's called a buzz boost embed code using FeedBurner from that rankfeedr feed, right? And then embed that into, for example, like an ID page, an ad ID page for a local project. And it ends up working really well because it continually dynamically updates the ID page, which gets the bots crawling it, right, often, with other people's content, but it's topically relevant and or locally relevant or geographically relevant. So it's just a great way to add relevancy to a page without you having to constantly add the content, which, by the way, you can add your feeds into rankfeedr feeds. So anytime you're publishing content, it will automatically insert it. But that ends up working fairly well. In fact, that the URL, the HTML version of the RSS feed that rankfeedr creates is an indexable link, and it will index. And in fact, one of the tree care projects that I had set this up on, in fact, it's the one that I did the training on for this exact method that I'm talking about. If you do a search for that company name, so it's the brand search plus that location, the news-round.com or whatever URL, the HTML version of that feed is indexed and ranked on page 1 for a brand search. So it's really interesting. It's powerful. You can do some pretty cool things with that. So for example, like that Buzz Boost embed code would be a really good embed code to buy an embed gig from MGYB, because now you've got, again, you're creating co-citation with a rankfeedr feed. And you're guilty by association, right? By placing your links in among all of those other links that are relevant in some way, either topically or geographically, it can create, you know, a lot of additional relevancy. And then you can just hammer that embed code either strictly on its own by doing embeds and then backlinks to the embeds, or you can embed it in your ID page, for example, and then, you know, do embeds for your ID page and run backlinks to that. So there's a number of things that you can do with it. SEO wise, but as far as using it for like content syndication, I haven't tested that in a couple of years now, but the last time I did try it, it was, they came out really ugly and spammy looking, the post did. So I would recommend RSS Smasher as a tool for that, if that's what you want to do. Both tools are valuable. Let me tell you that, just in different ways. So any comments on that? Moving on. Randy says, if you were approached by a large company to do SEO, would you use a drive stack, or is this strategy only good for local? No, it's good for any sort of website, period. SEO is SEO. You know, we talk about local a lot, but this absolutely applies to any sort of project. Marco, I know you want to add a comment to that.
It makes no difference. We've always said it. It's not just for local. Local is relative. If you want the world to be your local, then that's what your local is, and that's how you approach the build. But there's absolutely no difference in how you go about it, other than the local one has a geographical area, right? Generally, or an address if it isn't a service area, local business, if it's a storefront business. But I mean, as Jordan has worked with Fortune 500 companies, I have also, and we do the same thing, and it makes no difference who it is. They're getting one because that's the way I do it. And as a matter of fact, it doesn't even come into the conversation how I'm going to get results, because I've been at this game long enough that I'm going to lead the conversation to, I am going to get your results, but how I get results is my business. If you want to make it your business, I'll gladly give you a consultation. It's $1,500 an hour, period. And that usually, yeah, just go ahead. And surprisingly enough, the most anal people are those $250 to $500 a month clients. They're the ones who are going to be all over you. They're the ones who are going to be surf watching. They're the ones who are going to watch every single result and everything that you do. The bigger companies, all they care about, they want to take up the real estate. Of course, the branding has to be consistent. Everything has to look right. Everything has to be correct. And I don't blame them for that. But the how is mine. And if they want to pay me for that, they got to pay me a whole lot of money. So focus your conversation on not on how you're going to get results, but the fact that you're going to get results. And again, drive stacks are applied just everywhere. It's part of the standard operating procedures in the battle plan. It's in everything we do.
There you go. All right, so the next one's from Gary. He says, I noticed on the Semantic Master website schema, you had some areas with links to Wikipedia to define what SEO and marketing are. What type of schema is this, and how would we go about including something similar in local landing pages? Thanks in advance. I would guess, Marco, you were responsible for adding schema to the Semantic Mastery website. Is he talking about semantic tags from the SEO Ultimate plugin, or how is that configured?
It's something that I discussed in the Heavy Hitter group in the Entity webinar series. You're welcome to come to the Heavy Hitter group and find out all about it.
There you go. Maybe we could drop the link to the Heavy Hitter Club on the page if it's not already there, and maybe reply to Gary. So there you go, Gary. He's covered that in the Heavy Hitter Club webinars. Nicholas is up. He says, hi, SM crew. How do we index drive folders and files like sheets and docs? I've made all the folders public and built links and embeds, but the only thing that seems to be indexing is the gsite and one slide. Am I doing something wrong, or is it no longer possible to index? That's a good question for you, Marco.
Well, according to the rest of most of the experts, gurus, and what have you, professionals in the space, it's impossible to index files and drive stacks. I don't know how it's impossible, because I just looked. I don't know. I took a screenshot Friday of two drive folders outranking the gsite. Maybe I should share it in here. I can pull it up real quick in a little bit so that everyone can reference it. Back to this, it's completely possible to index it. Just how much are you going to invest in indexing them? Like me, I just tell Delia, get this done. And whatever indexes, that's all I'm interested in.
That's it.
Because the way that we do it, we call it the spiderweb silo, is every single file and document within the branded drive stack is going to reference every other document, is going to link to every document, multiple ways, multiple keywords, is going to use our shortener, is not going to use our shortener, is going to use all kinds of ways so that the bot will crawl everything. And that's really what I'm interested in. Not necessarily interested in indexing. I'm not even interested in them ranking. The reason why I showed in the image that it can rank and it can outrank the gsite is because someone said it was impossible. And you guys know I'm a CT Fletcher fan. And CT Fletcher said, fuck impossible. It's only impossible until some crazy MFer decides to go and do it. And so there you go. Whenever someone says it's impossible, all you have to do is you just go and do it and show it. And in fact, I have other tests coming up that show it's completely possible to index, to rank, and to get power from the drive stacks themselves. If you're having problems, then I suggest you go to mgyb.co, get yourself a piece of data through our our indexing gigs, and have him index your stuff. You should, guys, listen to this. I'm going to give you some free game in here. Tiered link building will help your tiered links to index over time. Now, do not expect, because I did another 1 million link test, especially after the guy in our RYS Academy Reloaded Facebook group did one with Fiverr and got great results. So I did one with really good link building involved just to see what kind of results I would get. Do not expect 1 million links to index in 24 hours, in 48 hours, in 2 months, in 3 months, in 6 months. Like, it doesn't happen that way. You do your link building gig, and that's done over time. It's dripped over time. And then what Daniel does, he does multiple indexing gigs. He runs multiple software on the links so that he indexes them, and it's done over time. Google will catch up with it. Someone will you'll get traffic to a press release which might have a link. It's like 6 degrees of separation. You know the Kevin Bacon game, right? Where Google might find the link out at tier 4, but it relates to tier 2, and then that will get indexed for a while. Other links will get indexed once the bot starts going everywhere. And as your entity power is up, Google will also start looking at the relevant links, guys. So it's not something that happens all at once. It happens over time. Don't expect, if you get 1 million or 10 million links, however many you get, don't expect them all to index. If you can get 50% to index over time, you're doing a really good job, and that's all you need, especially if they're tiered, because over time, tiered link building will help the links to index on their own.
Okay, thank you for that, Marco. The next questions, plural, is from BB, but we wouldn't expect anything less, would we? BB has got multiple questions here. So first one is IFTTT going to be non-free? I just read ahead, and apparently that is the case, which is interesting because we are currently updating IFTTT, SEO Syndication Academy. I'll get it right. We are currently updating Syndication Academy, and it looks like I have not confirmed this, but somebody made a comment about it going pro as well. So we will probably have a better answer for you next week, BB. I'll take a look into that, but it looks like it is going paid, which we kind of assumed would happen. In fact, to be honest with you, I'm surprised it remained free as long as it did, because, you know, I've been abusing IFTTT for SEO purposes since 2012. So like, and we've taught a lot of people how to do that too. So I'm actually really surprised it's remained free this long. But yeah, I'll find out, and we'll kind of comment on this a little bit more further next week. Just remind me by posting the question again next week, baby, and I'll cover it. I'll take a look at that. In fact, I'll make a note of this now. Just a minute. Okay. All right. So the next question is, generally speaking, say there is a long form post we want to promote on 1,000 keywords. Can we make 1,000 external posts from a single external site, which each post points to the long form content with different anchor text? Is that okay to do that? Will it promote something? Well, there's a diminishing return with number of links from the same domain. I don't know what that is. Maybe Marco has a more definitive or accurate description of that, or can define that better. But I know there is some, at some point, if you get, you know, if 3 links from the same domain isn't as bad as, you know, 300 links from the same domain, or 3,000, right? So I don't know at which point there's a diminishing return, but I don't know that that would help you at all. In fact, I think that would actually end up being incredibly spammy, in my opinion, but I don't know because I haven't tested something like that. Marco, what is there a threshold that you know of, and where the diminishing return begins?
I don't know like the exact point, but there is there are diminishing returns the more links that you add to the same site. There's a study, right, that found that the number of sites, it's actually the number of websites linking to you rather than the total number of links that matter most in Google rankings. And I can't remember where that was done or when, but it's been done multiple times. It hasn't been done just one time. Now, I'm not saying it's cause and effect, it's a correlation, but if enough people do this test where they'll do multiple websites linking and then 1 or 2 websites with a whole bunch of links, and if the different websites linking to you gets better results than just getting links, you know, like a million links from one website, then it stands to reason that you don't want to get all your links from one website unless you're getting Google to link to you. That's a whole different ballgame, right? Then you can power up those links. It's what we do, man. It's what we do. So we blow RYS Academy Reloaded, SEO Shield, the SEO PowerShell blows every study out of the water because we focus on Google. We go into Google, we add everything in Google, and then we blast the hell out of it as much as we can, as many times as we can, until we get the desired results. And then once we get the desired results, once you start getting natural traffic into your project, then we have to slow it down because you can't just keep hammering away at it and expect Google not to do anything about it. The traffic should make up for all the unnatural stuff you did to get yourself the traffic in the first place. The whole point is to get traffic and then to allow that traffic to send the signals to Google rather than all of the stuff that we do on the outside to get the results in the first place. But yeah, I mean, don't focus on just one website. 1,000 keywords, 1,000 keyword anchors. That's not going to get you anything except diminishing returns. And then at some point, Google just ignores the rest of the life. Remember, we used to do that link in the footer, so we get thousands of links back.
Yeah.
And then that stopped working. It's that thing. It's that exact thing. Diminishing returns.
Yeah, I mean, some traditional backlinking tactics over the years has been to receive backlinks with domain diversity, so from different domains, IP diversity, subnet diversity, so that, like, in other words, that's more important than just the number of links, even from one particular domain. So again, I know there is a level at which it starts to have a diminishing return, but I don't know what that level is. And it probably varies algorithmically, depending on the source of the link and that sort of thing. All right, question number 3 is, for sure Google recognizes translated content, but does it scan for translated content for it to be considered fresh content? I honestly don't know, because I only do stuff in US in English, so I don't know. Marco or Hernan, would either of you know?
Well, it doesn't matter what language it's in, as long as Google is crawling it and it comes across it, it's fresh content as far as Google is concerned. The language doesn't matter. Like, I'm not sure of this question, what it is exactly that he's asking. Because, I mean, what's his name? John at Google finally said that, yes, Google does recognize links in a foreign language. Of course, we've always known that. Like, Hernan and I have been doing this for ages, taking advantage of English language links to power up Spanish language websites all day long. We do this all day long, and Google understands the relevance, right? Google recognizes it because it's all computer code. At the end of the day, Google will take the computer code and they will relate it to the rest of the computer code and understand that all of this computer code is related. That's all that matters. Like we can, okay, so it's in Farsi. Google does not gonna understand that. Fuck that. Google understands zeros and ones and sequences of zeros and ones in binary code. That's all we care about.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
Boy, that was a short and sweet
You
edition.
got it, man. I mean, yeah, I mean, we've done it. We've done it with, you know, in fact, we're still like getting not only in like in Spanish, but like I've helped this client in Romanian, and they're getting decently good results with an IFTTT network made in English by us, you know, and their website is entirely in Romania. So they're pushing, you know, so I think that there's a lot of opportunity, and we mentioned this, you know, several times already, but there's a lot of opportunity, and you know, the algorithm or the machine learning, it's like a little bit behind on other languages. So yeah, go to town.
Gergely works in Hungarian. He's in Hungary.
Yeah,
and he was doing really well until COVID killed, because his stuff was outdoors and going, you know, going here and there and doing this tour, and that part of it was killed. But he was working in Hungary just fine.
Pub crawl.
Yeah. I didn't want to give away his niche.
Well, you know, bar crawling, pub crawling. Okay, so the next question was, let's see. Yes, this one, Marco, was probably in reference to a post that was made in another group recently. Hey guys, now I know this has been said before, but I was listening to an SEO I respect and claimed that Google Drive stacks no longer pass link juice and no longer get indexed. I know things changed how you make files and folders public, but is there any truth to this claim? I only ask because he is an SEO that usually seems to give accurate information. Thanks.
Can I share my screen, please?
Yeah.
Am I allowed?
You should be able to. Just grab it.
Okay, it says I can't because somebody else is sharing. Let me try again. Here we go. All right, let's put this shit away once and for all, man. Can you see this? Tell me when you can see it.
I see it, yeah.
Okay, do you see what that is? Drive.google.com, drive folders. You see that? Look at the next one. Drive.google.com, drive folders. Sites.google.com, the gsite. And then docs.google.com, the presentation, the slide. Look at the date. Can you see the date? Is it kind of small or should I enlarge it?
No, I can see it. September 4th.
Friday, I believe that was. Okay? So don't, this is now, by the way, 3 days after the claim was made, they're done, over with, they no longer work. I went on the 4th and look. How the fuck can you tell me they don't index and they don't work, man? What kind of fucking test are you doing, man? You really know how to test? Show me a test. Don't put it behind a paywall, man. Show it in public, here it is. And I got more coming in public, and I'm gonna do a public webinar when I'm gonna show the world, this is how it is. Don't tell me shit, you can tell me whatever the fuck you want. Show me the way. Don't tell me. Keep telling people that, man, don't just talk. Do I do, or shut the fuck up.
There you go. Enough said. Okay. I'm going to grab the screen again and we'll carry on. 3 lazy cats. Okay. Hi guys. FYI, I had to upgrade to IFTTT Pro today. Yeah, I saw you mention that earlier. The free version will only allow you to create 3 applets. The Pro version allows you to create unlimited applets, $9.99 a month, but the price special for the first year. Yeah, that's interesting. It is what it is. You know, I mean, I use Zapier like you wouldn't. I use that shit a lot. In fact, I'm doing a lot of stuff right now with Zapier because I'm building kind of like an automated prospecting system to automate a lot of the prospecting tasks that I do. But you know, that's paid, and to get really any use out of Zapier, $20 a month. Like that's the minimum, that's the starter plan, and you pretty much need that just to do really anything with Zapier. So it is what it is. It would suck for if you have. I wonder if they're gonna. I'm going to have to look into this, which I already said I would do before next Wednesday, so that I can talk about it a little bit more next Wednesday. But I wonder if legacy accounts are going to remain free for existing applets, or if they're going to retroactively shut all that shit down until you become paid, which would suck because I literally have hundreds and hundreds of syndication networks out there. So we'll find out and we'll comment a little bit more in depth next week. So
But
thanks for pointing that out.
You know what's interesting? RVAs haven't reported any problems.
Yeah.
Or any limitations on applet creation. So I'm not sure. Maybe that's being rolled out. I really don't know. I guess we should ask them what they're doing different to still
Yeah,
be
we're gonna
able
have to look into that. I'm definitely gonna investigate that because that'll also change how we proceed with updating the Syndication Academy training, which is in progress now. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have to talk to her to go take a look and see what the hell's going on.
yep, absolutely. Okay, so the next one's from Blue Clone. Okay, hi team. 2 questions regarding GMB. Question 1: we have 2 GMB locations and purchased maps heavy hitter for one of the locations, which is the secondary location. If we order another heavy hitter for our primary GMB location, do we need to specify anything in the new order? For example, referencing the one that we already purchased, asking because the physical locations of the GMB are only 10 miles apart and the keywords would be the same using the same keyword research file. No, it shouldn't make any difference. And here's why, because if it's the same industry, the same, brand, for example, it's just got 2 locations, then, hold on. I'm sorry. I saw something pop up.
Yeah, sorry about that. We can circle back to it. It's about IFTTT.
You can turn on unlimited applets, but only create 3. So good to go. Okay. So if you already have them created, you can turn them on.
Well, I think that's, I may be misreading, but how I interpret that is because now it's much easier, right, to find someone else's published applet. So to me, I read that as so long as you're using a published applet, you can have as many of those as you want, but you can only go in there and create 3.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll make them published versus.
Because I was surprised. I was like, I haven't seen this too, and I have several accounts that I use for
Created.
different things, for networks as well as just my own stuff. So.
Okay, thanks, Adam. I'll take a look at that. Like I said, we'll investigate before next week. Okay,
well,
so
just one more thing. We don't create applets anyway. We don't create applets for the public. We just turn them on, right?
no, we have to create them because it used to be that there was the share URL years ago when we had the Syndication Academy workbook that you could download for free or whatever, or it was in Google Sheets. But we would have the applet URLs, the share URLs, but they put a stop to that a few weeks ago or a few months ago, maybe now.
No, because you can still do a search for those and you can still find them.
Yes, correct. Yeah. But the share URLs apparently just don't work anymore. Like from the old workbooks that we had. We still use that same workbook template, but it's the share URLs and the applet tab or sheet apparently no longer work. So
I guess we'll have to go deeper into this.
Yeah, we are. We're going to have to figure it out. No problem, guys. We will. Don't worry about it. So getting back to Blue Clone's question about having 2 GMBs, same brand, but different locations about 10 miles apart. Here's the thing. You should be able to use this, order another embed gig, use the same keyword file, because if you were using market level keywords only with no location modifiers appended or prepended to the keywords within the file, then that's perfectly relevant, right? That you've got your relevant keyword file that you're going to be using for the anchor text links that are going to be built. Well, first of all, for the content that the embed's going to be, the content that's going to be created around that those keywords and those topics that then your embed, whatever you're embedding will be embedded within that content. So that adds relevancy there. But then obviously if you order link building to the embeds, then that keyword file is also used in part for anchor text, because it's not fully anchor text links. It's a mixture of, naked URLs, generics, and all that kind of stuff. Just keywords are sprinkled in there. There's no question. But the relevancy for the specific location is accomplished or is conveyed through the on-page SEO of whatever it is you're embedding. Does that make sense? So if your on-page is done correctly and it's, then you're going to have, location terms essentially within the page itself that is going to be embedded. So yes, market level keyword, the same file can be used for both locations as long as your on page is great. And if you're not like I said, if you don't have any keywords in your keyword file that have location modifiers added to the keywords, whether it's ahead of, beyond, afterwards or whatever, then you should be able to use the exact same file without any problems. You want to comment on that? Okay.
No.
Next one is, go ahead. Keep moving.
I think I think I saw this in our Facebook group, and I'm glad he asked it because he could just expand the dry stack and gsite. I think that's what he's talking about, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
No, he was talking
they're
about.
only they're 10 miles apart. They're not competing. They're part of the same thing.
Yeah,
Aren't they?
He was talking about just an embed gig. Could you use the same embed gig for both locations and use the same keyword file for both locations when ordering the embed gig? And I just explained that yes, you can. The only time that I would not is if you had some of the keywords in there with specific location modifiers to, then I would go back and edit that out for the other location. But most of, we tell you right in MGYB just to use market level keywords, and there's a reason for that. Because your on page should be able to determine its geographic, its geolocation, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, question number 2 is the RYS Reloaded guide. It states to use the MyMap embed code on the money site. We have a cleaner map on our contact page already, so wondering if we need to replace the existing map for some reason, or can we just add the MyMap to a different page on our site that isn't accessible via the menu bar, so not directly accessible like a landing page? That's a good question. I don't know, Marco, can you answer that one?
Yes, I could. The MyMap is only good if you don't have a service area business. If you have to hide the address, then it's not good because you lose the do follow link. If that's the case, if you're local and service area business, then embed the Google My Business map. And for the second one, for the second location, and we talked about this before, use something like widget logic to control your widgets, so that the one where you have a location, that one gets, that map, that corresponding GMB only gets displayed on that location page and any posts related to that location page.
Okay. So hopefully that answers the question. Okay, where are we? Looks like we are just about done. Yeah, it looks like it. Brian Cato, who's also a speaker, and it looks like Jordan Fowler, he just commented too. Both of these guys are going to be presenting at HOFU Live. And Brian says, Drive making changes, IFTTT making changes. They know SM methods are creating too much power. Yeah, isn't that the case? And it's funny how I remember, I think Syndication Academy, the current version now, which needs to be updated. That's why we're in process of doing that now. When I first started recording all of V2, Syndication Academy version 2.0 videos and, developing the training for that, it was right around, I think I had gotten like 6 or 8 videos into it when several things changed, like almost like it was crazy. There is a couple different platforms, whether it was WordPress or Tumblr or something changed. And then I know Google Plus, which changed a whole lot over the course of a couple of years before they phased it out. That was constantly changing. And so it was very frustrating because I would record, spend, 30 minutes to an hour preparing to record a training video. Then I would record it and then sometimes have to go back and edit it and get it in the can ready to go, like ready to be published on the training site. And then shit would change and I'd have to go back and redo it all again. So it was very frustrating. And it just seems like the last time that I did the Syndication Academy updates, we were transitioning through multiple changes on different platforms. And it looks like it's happening again at the very same time that we're updating Syndication Academy again. So I guess the moral of the story is stop updating Syndication Academy and maybe everyone else will stop updating their shit too. So.
Or maybe it's just a really good thing that we're updating it now when the changes are taking place.
That's true. Instead of like they update 2 months after we're done. You know what I mean? So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Looks like we're out of questions. We will see you guys all next week. Thanks for sticking around, guys.
See ya, bros.
Later.
See ya.